Greetings out there, and we're going to continue with our tutorial on the Ketron event series. So today we're going to be talking about a couple of things, especially being able to add to the automation of the keyboard. What do I mean by that? So an arranger keyboard is known predominantly for styles. In other words, being able to play a chord on your left hand and have the instrument automatically follow your chord progression based on what particular style you pick. Based on the content of those styles may either have MIDI or, in the case of the Ketron series, Ketron event series, audio data. And that MIDI or audio also again follows your performance. But most people sometimes still fringe upon arranger keyboards, predominantly because they seem to be repetitive, right? Once you play a couple of bars, you kind of have an idea of where the music is heading. Well, with Ketron, they've been able to eliminate most of that with some of the features that they have in their keyboard. For an example, this one, which I'm about to demonstrate to you, is for you to be able to have the capability to add manual phrasing in addition to the automated phrasing, right? So what do I mean by that? If you listen to the style I just performed right now, let's go over here. Oh, let's see. Yeah, there we go. So if you listen to the style I just performed right now, if I remove the chords and the drums and the bass, okay, I was playing predominantly just two chords, right, for the sake of the demonstration. And once in a while, I did a passing chord. Okay. Now, if you notice that is adding in addition to what the style produces. So if I go to just the style elements, okay, this is what the style is doing. Now you can hear an electric piano in the background. Whenever I change my chord, that piano comes on the downbeat. But notice what I'm doing here. When I do a passing chord, those passing phrases may not be embellished in either the MIDI or the audio of the original style, but I can create them manually as I'm performing. So when I did this, okay, if I eliminate that so you can hear that passing chord again. And how do you accomplish this? In a few ways. The first one is actually when you go in here, and I'm going to go into view and modeling, and I'm going to go to chord, and this will explain some of these chord modes that are in the instrument, right? If you notice here, I have 5 MIDI chords right there, okay? So in this case, the electric piano chord number 5, I'm going to go into settings. Now, if you notice, each chord can either operate under normal circumstances, which means when you play the chord, the arranger just transposes whatever MIDI notes you have and reproduces them in the new chord that you're playing, right? That's your normal mode of operation. If you notice here for chord number 5, I have it on retrigger. So if I touch this, I can retrigger just a pitch or normal operation. What I've chosen to do in this circumstance is set chord 5 to retrigger. What retrigger does, it allows you, each time you change the chord, it triggers the attack on that chord. So if you listen to this, I can do a chord walking. Regardless of what the arranger is doing, I can actually, each time I play a chord, you actually hear the chord note being the chord note sound, regardless of where the style is at. So if you play the style from the beginning, for example, the first bar in the MIDI programming, the style actually has a chord in there. If I don't change it, you won't hear that again until it loops and comes back to the beginning, right? But if I'm playing and I want to manually express myself, all I have to do is select the chord and change that to retrigger, and in which case, retrigger will allow me to trigger those notes each and any time I want to as I'm performing. Now, not only do I have that capability, but also when I go over here to the lower voices, like I explained in the previous video, I also have the capability to also have those kind of work like a trigger, like a retrigger, right? Have the notes either held or not held. And again, like I explained before, I can have up to 3 additional voices. This is in addition to the chord voices that the arranger is controlling as well, right? So in this case now with my volume sliders, I can bring in and out those voices. See that? with the drum and bass. You can hear everything together. Like an accent, lower 2, or 3, which adjusts my strings. So I do have manual control. So that is one way for you to be able to actually add automation. In other words, adding automation to the styles. Again, you know, this is one of the very few arrangers out there which allows you to be able to reproduce MIDI phrases in every key without alteration to that key. Normally, like I said before in the previous video, what happens when you program your arranger, for an example, when you program a style and you have one of the chords, like let's say, for example, chord 1 or chord 2, you know, with phrases in it. What the instrument is doing is transposing those chords, right? But with the multi-chord and multi-bass, these are very strong points that Ketron actually introduced in the arranger world, because this allows you to perform independent MIDI sequences for each chord, which are reproduced as they were written without any adaptations, right? So in that case, the automation does not override the musicality of the chord, which is the case with most arranger keyboards, depending on how complex of a chord you play. But in this case, I can write MIDI phrases for every individual chord, be that in MIDI format or be that as an audio file as well too. So that's one thing I was trying to point out today as well too. Now, somebody asked also to explore some of the Latin styles, which again are some of Ketron's strengths. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go into, let's say, the Latin category here, and I'm going to go into this salsa. And this is where you begin to see the overall strength of being able to use audio. Check this one out. So in that particular style, we were able to demonstrate another additional feature when it comes to style programming in Ketron. In the style that have an R at the end, you notice that you were able to go into variation D, and I didn't have to play any more chords. That's because the keyboard is using an internal table based on the style that you pick and the most popular or the popular phrases that are used in that particular style, okay, and the progressions, and it's able to generate that automatically. So when I went to arranger D, pretty much I just gave it that chord and I was able to play on the right hand of the split point, okay, being able to play my own individual notes without having to worry about the chord progressions. And it can be a little bit tricky sometimes because it depends again on the music that you're performing or where you want to go, right? So these are little tricks that the machine, has, or the features that the machine has to enhance your music so that you don't have to depend totally on automation. You can also express yourself musically, and that's the whole idea of having a keyboard of this nature, right? Overdub recording. So how are you able to overdub? How are you able to record multiple times on the event series? And actually this dates way back to the Audio series. We had this feature on the Audio, we had this on the SD9 Pro and its variants, and it's also available on the event. Let's say you have a piece of music you want to record, but again, you only have 2 hands and 2 feet, and you're limited with what you can perform, right? So sometimes you have to punch in when you're doing a recording. In other words, be able or overdub a particular track. How do you do that on the event? Let me try with this particular style because this is gonna be a good example. All right, I'm gonna go in here, and I'm going to pick. Let's see here, user unplugged. Go to the last page, and go to this particular one here, okay? Here we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to record something, okay? And I'm going to come back and use that recording, play the recording, and record another additional piece in addition to that recording. And you can do this as many times as you wish. Again, you have a 240 gigabyte SSD drive in there, so it really depends on how much space you have in that drive. But this is the whole idea. Record as much as you can on the first track, come back and play that, and then record additional material so that the second recording will have the content of the first recording plus whatever you did on the keyboard. Something like this. Okay, and now that you've done something like we just did right now, of course, got carried away with that style by Cassava. So you now have your first recording, right? You've done the first recording, and of course, you can just simply hit play and listen to it. Again, you want to check your levels, make sure you're not peaking too much into the red, okay? So if you look at the screen, you have that, the view meters, you want to make sure that it doesn't really stay in the red. That way it's not saturated or doesn't clip, okay? So we've done that before, and now we're like, okay, this sounds okay. So I want to save this, all right? This is going to be my first wave stereo track. I'm going to save that. So I'm going to go here and say, yes, I want to save that recording. And for the sake of this demonstration, I'm just going to call this Zouk1. Okay, I call that file Zouk1, and that's an audio file, which of course you can now go back and play or transfer to a USB stick and take to your performance. All right, but that's not what we want to do. So where did that file go? Remember the previous video I told you that whenever you use the media, whenever you use the drive, the last folder that you access or that you use is where any recording is going to go. So in this case, we didn't use anything, so it's going to go into the root directory. So if I go down here and go down to the bottom, I should see that file, Zouk1 wave, and I can play it back, right? So this is a wave file. Everything done on the keyboard, mix everything done, ready to go. Now I want to do an overdub. So what I want to really do is I want to play this file while recording something else. So what I want to do now, I'm going to set my keyboard up for the voices that I want to use in that other recording. So in this case, I want to say, I want to add pad, adjust the volume, add a second voice there, which is a strings. Remember, although Ketron calls these voices, these are actually combination of sounds. So voice 1 can be a combination of up to 3 voices, and voice 2 can be another combination of 3, making it 6, right? And if you want to see those voices, you simply press voice 1 and voice 2 together, and it gives you that string. So in this case, voice 1 is made up of 3 voices. Voice 2 is actually made up of 1 that is on right now, but I can turn the other ones on and off, you know, as I perform. So I'm going to use this particular. That sounds okay. So now I'm setting the keyboard up for my other recording, because remember, you won't have time to do this once you engage the recorder, right? So I'm going to do that. I want these to be background sounds. I'm going to lower the volume a little bit. So now I'm going to be a little bit smart. I'm going to go into the recorder. So make sure that you go to the player and it is where you want it to be at, all right? Because you don't have time to come back and be searching. So my player is set to play this wave file as soon as I come in here. I'm going to go back to my recording and I'm going to make sure it's audio, which is what I did before. It's already there. And once I hit the record, I'm going to come back and hit the player and play that first file. So while that first file is playing, it's going to be recorded into this new file in addition to whatever I'm doing on the keyboard, like this. And I can go back into the recorder to verify. Okay, so if my calculations are correct and I press the right buttons at the right time, if I hit play, I'm going to hear what I just recorded, which is the first track I played plus the additional material I recorded. Let's give it a shot. So I actually overdubbed, right? Exactly like I said. So now I can say, you know what, I'm going to hit save, and I'm going to save this one now, yes, as Zouk 2, right? So let's go over to the screen here so you can see what I'm doing. I've saved it as Zouk 2. Now if I hit enter, I now have 2 audio files in there. The original one, which was just my style and what I did or what I was able to do at that time. And the second file is that recording plus what I just did right now. And I can make a third and a fourth and a fifth, right? So now if I go into my player, get out of the recorder, in my player I have 2 audio recordings right now, right? So if you go to the screen, you're going to see Zouk 1 and Zouk 2. And what is Zouk 2? Zouk 1 plus the additional material that I added on Zouk 2. So now I can hit play, all right, and play that WAV file or put that on a USB stick if I am done my recording. But I can, again, like I said before, I can even go further with this, right? That's that audio file. I can say, hey, listen, set the keyboard up. I'm going to go now. I want to add some synth voices. Let's see. That sounds okay. I'm just going to use that as just to accent the recording. So again, I'm going to go back now into my recorder. Again, on audio. Hit record and right back into my player to hit play and start playing Zouk number 2. Now, in that case, I made a mistake. It was a little bit too loud there, right? So I can stop that recording and then do it again. I'm not going to save it because I made a mistake in this particular case. So I'm going to go again and start over, adjust my volume the way I want, hit record, player 1, save audio recording. No, I don't want to save it. So I don't want to do that. I want to go back into my recorder. Again, hit record, go to my player, Zouk 2. But you get the point, right? So now I'm going to hit my, just for the sake of speeding this up, hit save, stop recording first of all. It's going to do its thing, okay? And I hit save, recording, yes. And guess what? Yes, you got it. I'm going to call this one Zouk 3 or Zouk Final, right? This is my final recording. All right, so now in this case, I'm done, okay? Done with that demonstration. But if I now go and want to play this or want to exchange this with a friend of mine, guess what I'm going to do? Go into my player, get out of my recorder, and I have Zouk Final there. If I hit enter, it's going to play all of these together with whatever I recorded. And that's my final recording. And I didn't even have to go to any big fancy studio to get this quality of work out of the Ketron event. Well, you didn't have to make original tracks, right? And on that note, I'm going to bid you all farewell for the demonstration today. This has been AJ at Ketron, wishing you all a great, prosperous week. As you head into the Christmas season, think about your Ketron event, about your content, which you can get at www.AjamSonic.com, especially if you're looking for interesting styles and great sounds to bring out the best of your events. And if you're not a Ketron customer, this might be the time to hop on the wagon because of the sales that are going on currently within the various distribution networks across the globe. So check out www.AjamSonic.com and grab yourself a Ketron event, a variable of it, either the Event 61, or you can get the EVM if you like what you heard over here and you want to get that in this little box. Of course, you have to have a touch screen, all right? Or you can use your iPad if you want to control that. Or you can just get the Event X, which is the little box module without the keys and without all the weight and everything else. I shall see you guys in the next video. Take care.